Now, let's focus on an area where Bihar has been leading the charge at the national level, esports. This is an area where even the government of the state has hopped on to maximize on promise and champion the mushrooming of talent in this region. To explore more of that, we invite our moderator for the session, Mr. Abhishek Issar, co-founder Federation of Esports India, to introduce the panelists and get us going.
Fantastic. Thank you for the introduction to the panel. I think what's important is to be able to underline, as the announcer did highlight some moments back, that in the world of sports, needless to say, the government of Bihar and the sports department has taken some very important initiatives in the past many years, especially in the most recent past. Needless to say, the sports industry has witnessed talent coming from various sectors and disciplines. But Bihar has definitely taken a front runner's role, a leadership position, a pole position in the development and adoption of the new rising emerging phenomena in sports. And I'm very, very mindful when I say that. We are talking of electronic sports. It's not just gaming anymore in India. Electronic sports is sport as recognized by the government, and the government of Bihar under the leadership of Shri Ravindra Sankaranji, heading the Bihar State Sports Authority, of course, with the blessings of the Chief Minister, Shri Nitish Kumarji. Bihar has recognized e-sport as a sport, and this has been a movement that started a couple of years ago. I still recall there was a similar convening a couple of years back, and esports got a special session. The idea was to achieve the first level of awareness. Today we've come a long way. I'd be more than happy to talk in details, but it's important that I play the moderator's role today. And why not when we have two such fantastic personalities? So Nishi, of course, you represent an organization that's been in the gaming and esports ecosystem for a long time, invested into multiple organizations in the sector, also playing the role of not just a company that is building esports, but also supporting the entertainment ecosystem and so on and so forth. And also, I'll take the opportunity to quickly lend a few words for Akshat. The gentleman can very conveniently be placed as sitting on the leaderboard in having to have taken India's esport at a global stage. NODWIN Gaming today is recognized as one of not just India's top esports organization, but one of the world's most prominent, especially representing a country like ours. But I feel the journey thus far, Akshat, has been stage one. The stage two is what I'm very interested to discuss today. So, Akshat, maybe we'll start with you. We are sitting at, you're in Patna at a fantastic convening sports summit hosted by one of the most prominent publishing houses in Hindu and Sportstar. For esports to sort of be a feature in these two aspects put together for someone you've been, a subject that you've been supporting long, how does this sort of stack up?
Very, very recently, very quick 1 minute around us. NODWIN Gaming was born 10 years ago. I'm a gamer. I used to go out and play esports. And then I did real life things like do a business and build a business. NODWIN's now one of the largest companies in the world. And I had a very good privilege of sitting about 3 years ago with His Highness in Saudi Arabia when they announced the Olympics are happening around esports. And one of the things at that time was, dang it, when will India do this? Because I'm from India and they've invited us, and I was sitting on the main stage with them and talking about it as we've been able to go out and build this. And lo and behold, when you manifest something, when jab kuch matlab man se mango na to mil jata hai. So I think about a couple of years ago, India started going and saying that multi-level discipline and esports is now part of the sports code. Then we wanted to go ahead and say, hey, this is bigger. And then states started taking initiative. I think Bihar was one of the first ones. So it's a very, it's a very big validation where the world probably recognized us more. But I think now with India taking the lead, I think it's a very, very proud moment.
Thank you. I think that sets the context. You touched upon the upcoming calendar event, which the world is talking of, but I'll come back to that. A quick word from you on JetSynthesys, size, scale, and the esports opportunity, how the organization sort of looking at this space.
Taking lead from what Akshat just said, right, on the Saudi Arabia and the Olympics, I just want to, from a Jet perspective, I just want to say what's our strategy for that. I think that will sum up everything what you are coming at. See, for a Esports Olympic is will be looking at a simulated game with a huge database and a massive engagement. We as a real cricket, RC have been here for 10 years. We have built a massive pool of communities, gamers, and viewers. On top of that, we have been rated as a top esports, top e-cricket simulation game by Google and other top partners. So if you see, when we have a world's largest esports league, topped by the largest cricket simulation game, I think governing body should be taking a note. And that's what we do at Jet. At Jet, we have an interconnected ecosystem of gaming and esports, entertainment and esports, where if you see the outside for the gaming, the two big industries which are very aligned to gaming is entertainment and music. And at Jet, we have an interconnected ecosystem which truly fuel this power.
Fantastic. So much more to sort of learn from each of the set pieces, but I'll invite you to sort of elaborate the esports piece subsequently. Just to lend some context to all the other sort of friends at this convening. The government of Bihar, as Akshat has highlighted, and of course I also touched upon earlier, has taken a formal stand to recognize esport as a sport a couple of years back. And on that effort, like we've heard all the esteemed panelists before this session, when you're referring to sports, you touch upon grassroots development, talent identification, you touch upon infrastructure development, you touch upon the presence of federations and the sort of, like a fantastically smooth functioning ecosystem that is able to sort of produce talent, but also enable and support them in the long run. I feel the government has taken some very credible efforts and steps in making sure that this is achieved. To give a quick summary, in the last sort of year and a half gone by, there's been a talent discovery of young kids and participants amounting to upwards of 16 to 17,000 young kids who've participated in tournaments ranging from what we call the Open State Championship to inter-school, inter-college and inter-divisional tournaments, right? Typically what we'd get to see and understand in sports. And I'll take a moment to extend, warm commendations to Shri Ravindra Sankaranji, the Honorable Director General, who has been very clear in making sure and at least been also public about the fact that esports is a subject that Bihar is very keen on making sure we play a front runner's role in. And on that, a couple of days back, he also announced that Bihar would love to host. In fact, he's announced that Bihar will be hosting the first national games for esports. So, Akshat, given that sort of context, your involvement in having to have been one of India's leading organizations to conduct such large-scale tournaments, the paradigm that I'm referring to is here in Bihar. The objective is actually bottom of the pyramid first, which is the grassroots, to empower parents to sort of understand that my kid is not indulging in just fun, he's actually indulging in a state-recognized event. What does that sort of mean from your perspective from the industry?
I'm a fairly young person who's very controversial. People hate to put me on stages because I say things that are absolutely unfiltered. I'm going to take 3 minutes of your time and everyone's time to go ahead and explain 3 very important but very quick things. Why is playing a video game on this a sport? Why is it a sport? Why is it not a game? Sports, as defined by the International Olympic Committee, is a pursuit of Citius, Altius, Fortius, stronger, higher, faster. When you play a video game on this, on a professional level, I am just faster than you. That is why it is a sport. I will go ahead and kick the ball faster than you. I will shoot a bullet faster than you. I will go jump faster than you. I will respond faster than you. And when I'm saying faster, that means at milliseconds faster. As an example, Formula 1 car drivers and esports athletes have the same response times. That's why this is a sport. Second part, like any sport, there is individual sports and there is team sports. And the word esports is nothing unless you have a context. Esports is as big as music. Do you like music? Do you like food? Yeah. What music? Rag Bhairavi? Kailash? You want death metal? You like Indian food? You like Chinese food? What esports title is there? Our friends JetSynthesys have a great league that they run on a game called Real Cricket. There is other games like BGMI, which is the largest game in our country, that we go ahead and broadcast on Star Sports in the month of July and August for 45 days, in which the same time, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you go ahead and watch the best athletes of our country, the esports athletes, play one game. And if you go ahead and put all of these games together, then you have something called the Esports Olympics, because that's multidisciplinary. So it's always about which game are we talking about, which is the sports title that you're talking about. And the third one, which kind of concludes this entire space, is each sport has its own championship, just like football has the FIFA World Cup. But football is also part of the Olympics, right? Same as tennis. Tennis, just Australian Open is happening right now today. But it is also part of the Olympics, which is there. So, and India can go ahead and have have someone like Leander Paes, who goes and plays for us, but also plays the Davis Cup, but will also play Wimbledon, right? So you can have athletes play at different places and have different items that you're winning for. And in esports right now, the individual sports are with a lot of money. As an example, the best esports in India has around 250 people in the country of India which earn more than 1 lakh rupees a month playing esports. The number one person earns 16 crores a year, right? And they has about 50 million followers, which is there, like a Virat Kohli, which is there. So that's the space. So then the question is, why is this person wanting, when they're on Star Sports, when they're on YouTube and Instagram, and when they're winning millions of dollars, literally, what is the way that we can go ahead and find the next big athlete and we can go ahead and make them famous from places like Bihar? Is the question of grassroots. And I think it is a discovery problem, not a build problem. So I think academies are not something till the time we can go ahead and build fame here. If we build fame, it will act like a 1983 cricket moment. It will act like a Neeraj moment. It will act like a Vishwanathan Anand moment. It will act like a Vijender moment. You'll have then huge gamut of people going and saying, this is legitimate, this is cool, which is there. I can keep on telling you that this is okay and it is there, but you'll still not believe it, right? Your kid will still play 8 hours of video games and you'll be like, I'm telling you by now, if your kid comes and says, I'm playing 8 hours of video game, I'm saying I'm playing esports, they're wasting 7 hours. Because he should be practicing skills. I think the Director General was also talking about that. It's about skills. It's not about, you don't become a better cricketer by playing more matches. You become a better cricketer by going and hitting 10,000 times the ball in the same direction or bowling in a certain way. Same thing, wrist, hand-eye coordination, wrist movement, back things. On our tournament, I was telling you, we do BMI indexes to go ahead and find out how heavy are you, because if you're a fat kid, you will not respond faster. And it's a speed competition. So that and everything else, and over the year, it's there. So a minute longer than expected.
No, of course, perfectly. And then there's the reward element, which I would definitely want to sort of spend some more time. But if you could quickly highlight the last couple of seasons that you've hosted, what is the reward circuit like? What does this talent essentially
so typically get? Just like again, Wimbledon's a good example. The top tier circuit has prize pools of between 2 and 3 crores each. The total prize pool in India is about 14 crores, so a couple of $1 million. There are about 10 to 30 mid-tier tournaments, which is there. The total number of people who play tournaments in the country are about 600 teams. The number of people who play the game on a competitive level is about 40 million people every day. The total number of people who've downloaded games and play them on an active level is around 400 million.
Wow.
Viewership is around 250 million.
Heavy duty numbers, but to be honest, and I'm sure Akshat will validate, we're just discussing how the esports industry in India is not even starting, right? How small it is today and where we really potentially can be. Would you like to sort of elaborate, Akshat? But again, I'll invite you to also connect the set piece of how the government of Bihar has institutionalized such an important decision, how that sort of replicates into other regional chapters, what that can mean for India when the government states that, we'd like to host the national games, the first ever in this country that a government-led initiative will get to see.
Look, there are 5 stakeholders, right? There's a game developer, publisher. They make the game. Then there is the player that plays the game. There is a tournament organizer like us. I call us the IPL organizers. We are the tournament commercial monetizer of this. Then there is a broadcaster, whether it be Star or there's YouTube or whatever. And then there are the governments that are there. Like any true sport, I think this competition on a global scale is cities, not countries. So Riyadh pitches for a world championship. We have another world championship that happens in Berlin, another one that happens in Sao Paulo, and we have another one that happens in Thailand. It's going to be in Bangkok, which is there. And in India, we've had the government of Telangana and Hyderabad going and stepping up with this. In Chennai, we have another one that is there. And the opportunities now are about states to go ahead and take a leadership thing to its constituents and to its youth to go ahead and say, we are there where we can go ahead and put a great spectacle that is relevant for you, where on the back of that, we can go ahead and have an institutional program that in, say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years' time, we'll be able to go ahead and have the best athlete in the country coming from here. Because the lighthouse of legitimacy comes from going and saying, as an example, right? We just watched Gukesh beat Dinglaran in chess. We produced that entire feed, but the aha moment of that was 4 years ago when the Prime Minister and in Chennai, where they said the World Championship will happen here. The World Championship was announced in Chennai, around 130 crores was spent on it. Lots of kids from the south became really good in chess. Vishwanathan Anand took it upon himself to go ahead and mentor those kids. That kid was 13 and a half years old when that happened. Then now we are here. He's an 18-year-old youngest world champion. And then the government announced that the 2025 World Championship is coming back. So it's a very big circle, right? In 4 years' time, you went and said, World Championship in my city. Let's go ahead and have something here. 4 years later, you are the world champion, and the World Championship is coming back. I think that's the aha cycle.
I think you've answered that question in a very straightforward fashion, even though there's a cyclical process that the system must go through. And I feel that with one state sort of taking a strong decision definitely has a ripple effect. We already have interest from other regional chapters, leadership in other states also very keenly looking at this space, and they've already started inducting it, right? The confusion of esport not being a sport, or at least being confused with the rest of the gaming, is conversation of the past. That's changed.
Yeah, and it's important I go ahead and say this. Look, we are sitting in a room full of administrators and people who work on policy. The government of India took a very, very clear stance. There is something called real money gaming, in which you put money in and you take money out, right? That's the definition of money in, money out. And they're great ones, whether it is poker, whether it is fantasy, which is, it's a sector in our country. And I think it should be respected as a sector. And the government of India now has a very specific word for it. It's called online gaming. Then there is a second one, which is called video gaming, which is games played on electronically, which is the ones we pay, whether it is Ludo, whether it is PUBG Mobile, was PUBG Mobile, now is called BGMI, or any other game. And then a competitive angle of a video game that you are actually going and doing, where there is no money involved coming in, is called esports. And that's fine too. Right? So that definition is a very important thing. That's why this sits with sports and not with Métis or with anything else.
And I feel that this definition is in process of evolution because, listen, about 4 years back, the IOC was trying to negate esports and it actually banned it globally. And about a year back, the IOC leadership president in India is announcing that they can't ignore it any further. Lo and behold, we now have the esports Olympic Games, first of its kind ever. Taken up for the next 12 years by one country. So you referred to that cyclical process, which is critical. State initiates with something big, and I feel that the real heavy lifting has already happened, which is with the grassroots open up. Young kids in the government, in the state are today very excited about playing the sport and they look at it very seriously as a sport, I can tell you, because we've had good experiences engaging with these kids. But in those titles, we also have a very unique game, which is promoting an indigenous ecosystem. And when you talk of India, you talk sports, you cannot ignore cricket. Speaking of cricket, and I'm sure Akshat could validate, we've gone ahead, of course, with validation permissions coming from the BSSA also, in having to have shortlisted one such cricket title called Real Cricket, which is obviously a product of JetSynthesys. Would love to hear from you. I know that your entire ecosystem is very pleased about the idea that cricket's been inducted. The game is very competitive, so I get to hear from experts like Akshat. And the good thing is, the receptivity in the grassroots is massive. We are talking of the Olympics. I don't see real cricket getting inducted, at least in the coming edition. But how has the game and the title shaped out? Because that's also a narrative the Honorable Prime Minister outlined a couple of years back. Indian games, Indian narrative must be promoted. And I feel that's one fantastic way of encouraging young kids to sort of look at this in a more serious fashion.
So, see, to add to that, on the same, real cricket is the true indigenous, made in India game, right? And it is a, so we how to make it big, right? So all the cricket players who are play currently on a real cricket, the next big stage for them is GEPL, which is a global esports Premier League, which is the largest esports platform for e-cricketers. And can I announce?
Of course, a tournament that you've already hosted for 2 editions, is it?
Yeah. So this is the second. It's the second season of it, and we will love to host a GPL leg, special GPL leg here in Bihar with the support of Bihar government, and to locate, to find and scout the best e-cricketing talent and put them on a global stage directly. We'll also like to to explore how we can advance the top 10 players directly to auction stage, bypassing the qualifiers, registration, and Swiss draw model, giving them access to a professional esports contracts, and turning their passion into a career opportunity for them.
Oh, lovely. That moment, I think, is one that deserves a round of applause.
Thanks.
Because here's a publisher, a company which is sort of announcing, they already have a tournament, right? It's called GPL. It's based on real cricket. May I ask, at the right sort of stage as well, will you be able to adopt some of the kids who are competing under the programs of the Bihar government?
Yeah, sure.
Will they have an opportunity to get inducted into the league structure?
Yes, sure. So like I said, for the next, not this season because it's already in motion, for the next season, for surely we'll look into it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think that's newsworthy. Appreciate your thought around it. Akshat, I think we need such initiatives in the country to be able to sort of hone that talent, right? It's not just about being in the top rung of the ecosystem, but like you've also been privy to some of the other administrators talking of sports development. And India, unfortunately, well, 6 medals, I'm sure we deserve more at the Olympics. That process of talent development, honing, gestation period in esports is much lesser. You've seen multiple such cycles. Any specific thoughts? We've got very important members here in this August gathering on how to better improvise from a policy perspective and adopt esports as a sport. What should that outlook be, given that we've got the Olympics as well?
Complicated answer. Sorry. You can game the Olympics, right? What that means is you can look at the Olympics and say, where are the medals? And there are very cool documentaries that are out there, some of them on Netflix, and it says, America, for example, went and said, we'll go for swimming, right? Britain said, we will go after cycling, right? They said, what is the total impact if I pick one sport, but if there are more medals in that sport, I can actually have a disproportionate win outcome out of this, right? Athletics was another thing that the Americans went and did. And over time on the Olympics, you'll be able to go ahead and look at this. I think the same thing applies to esports. I think we need to go ahead and be very specific about the titles we should compete in and not feel bad. So one of the biggest esports titles in the world is something called Counter-Strike, right? 25-year-old game, really big in Europe. I am extremely confident of saying this, that despite the best efforts, if one Indian kid keeps playing, and you need 5 players in this to go ahead and keep playing, For every hour an Indian kid will put in, a German kid is also putting that 1 hour in. So the differential will always be about 7 to 8 years, which is there. We can decide that 8 years later we will win this game, but we don't know whether that's going to be valid. So the answer here is we need titles to be focused on in which we know we can win. Right? We either go ahead and get games like real cricket as part of the Olympics, and if we can't get real cricket as part of the Olympics, we pick titles that are going to the Olympics that we know we can win. Now, Pakistan, for example, has done something very interesting. Pakistan doesn't really go ahead and do well in esports, but they have one title called Tekken, and in which they have the best Tekken player in the world. So they just went and said, we will focus on Tekken as a game. And they win the world championship in that one specific game, right? I think the lessons here are that focus on specific titles in which you can go ahead and leapfrog everyone else in the world. And in mobile, because India is one of the best places in the world because of the population that we have playing mobile games, we are among the top 3 people in the world. So pick mobile titles, pick single individual titles that you can actually get behind. And that will allow us to go ahead and get very, very deep, very, very quickly.
Very important point made, and I think that's also the fundamentals with which we've adopted some of the esports titles in Bihar. Our time is up, so I'll just leave it to last sort of 2 responses. One, any thoughts on the upcoming esports Olympics? Titles that are already there, where do you see India possibly having an opportunity? Maybe not in the first edition, but let's say by the second edition.
No, I'm part of that advisory council that is working on this, which is there. I think there are 22 titles that are being considered, which is there, and at least 3 to 4 titles that India is going to do really well in. And I think we should go ahead and put our back to it and go ahead and do that. And the idea always is, I often like to go ahead and say, you can choose one team, and then you can spend a lot of money to send that team everywhere else in the world. But then you're giving, let's assume this team has 5 people, but then you're giving opportunity to 5 people. I'd rather go ahead and have, not even do the semifinals and finals, get 20 kids, but get 20 international people down here and go ahead and make those 20 play against the 20 internationals. That's why IPL does better. That's why IPL is the best in the world. That's why the English Premier League does the best. You get the best in the world to go ahead and play the best which is there. Yeah, slowly it's going to take time, but if you just give, if you limit opportunity and give that opportunity only to a limited amount of people, your outcome is now, it's a game of chance, right? You want more chances that your people can go ahead and be better. So don't limit the opportunity to people, and that's why grassroots plays such a good role, right? And that's what was just mentioned here. If we can get the best in the country and the best in the world to go ahead and come here, I think that's the best. So I think my ask for Bihar would be that let's get the best in the world to come and be part of this, the esports edition that is being announced right now. National Esports Games should have invited international teams.
Fantastic. I think that's a lovely point. I was about to ask any suggestions on a wish list that you'd like to table to Government of Bihar. I think
and the second one I'd love to go ahead and see is, and the Director General is not in the room, but I think the idea here would be if, as part of the Mashal program, we can go ahead and have certification for, just like you go ahead and have it for cricket, football, basketball, kho-kho, kabaddi, boxing, let's have a certification program in Mashal for esports.
Fantastic. I think that's a point worth discussing offline. Nishi, any final thoughts?
I would only like to say that cricket is the biggest sport in India. I want to see a best e-cricketer from India, from Bihar, who can come up and play into us GPL and in the world.
Lovely, fantastic. I think that's a lovely parting note to kind of conclude this session on. A thought that resonates with BSS as well. Their intention has always been to produce top talent across sports and disciplines. We are very fortunate esports is one such considered by the state today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Please, a rousing sort of send-off. Okay, I see a hand or two, if you don't mind. Would you? I see a gentleman who would like to ask a question.
Yeah, hi, this is Darshan here. I just want to have one question was on the female participation. I want to know how many girls participate in esports, and has any steps been taken towards promotion of that? Second question was from my colleague Shamswati, she had stepped out, was on health of, I'm sure that, like any sports, there is loss, and mental health and physical health also is a factor here. Is anything being done to take steps on that aspects as well for esports? Yeah.
If there are about on an amateur level, encouragement to go to the gym is always important. The top athletes go ahead and say that it is there. But if you actually look at the top teams in the country, they have physiotherapists, they have gym, they have nutrition consultants that sit down. Because the answer again is what I said. If you are unhealthy, you will be slow. You will lose. If he's healthier than you, he will be better than you. He'll be faster than you. Because obesity, for example, or sugar, or Adderall, or Red Bull, or anything that goes and gives you a big spike in sugar is not a great thing to go ahead and get you response times that are better, right? So you want to be healthier on an ongoing level to go ahead and do this. And as far as the women component which is there, because it's a speed competition and it's not a strength competition, there is no differentiator. So we have teams in which women play. So this is not a men versus, it's not boxing, it's not weightlifting where a physicality of a men's, because more testosterone is in the body, they can go ahead and actually lift better. No, it's a speed competition. So if in a speed competition, we've already seen in driving as an example, women drivers be there in Formula 1 and in Daytona, right? In any speed competition across the world, the gender imbalance is not required. Now the question, interestingly, is why are there not more female players? Which is there. I think that's an inclusivity and an acceptance part. First, you actually want viewership to go. Viewership in esports is typically was around 90% men, 10% women, but this year, I think it has crossed the 65-35 kind of a ratio. As more women play more video games, as more women watch more video games and esports, more women would be finding it very acceptable to go ahead and do that. So I think now the participation has gone up to about 10%, and I think it's going to be much better.
Great, thank you.
To add to that, one last piece. You'll be very happy to hear that in a competition which just got concluded 2 days back, which is the Open Esports State Championship, we included a title called Street Fighter, which is a medal sport. The winner was a young girl who happened to have played and also have won the medal and award by the government itself.
And the World Championship in Olympics in Tokyo, which is there, the World Championship was a girl. She beat 14 boys to go ahead and be the which is there. So, yeah, why not?
I have one question. Yeah. Can you hear? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear.
Yeah, this is Dr. Shivaji Kumar. I am the President, Bihar Para Sports Association. Just would like to know about the para sports, means person with disability. Are they participating in e-sports? Do you have any?
Again, that same title we talked.
Another thing, there are 21 types of disability under RPWD Act. So we'd like to know what types of PWD could participate in this e-sports.
So again, the electronic sports, since it's a speed competition, there are a lot of people who are either visually impaired or physically impaired because mobility on legs is no longer relevant in this, right? It's either hand or eyes coordination, which is there. And there are specific devices that the world's game companies go ahead and generate for people with physical disabilities to go ahead and get them exactly on par with someone else. So again, with those specific devices, people who have disabilities compete absolutely on par with people. So you don't even have to have a separate competition with them. They actually compete on par. And I think the number 4 player in the world has right hand amputated, and he absolutely goes and kills everyone else. Very, very
Can I suggest, why not you are starting e-para sports also? So that will be
just to add on what we were discussing earlier, one of the top 10 players, one of the top 10 players of real cricket, they are people who have with a disability. They are playing in GPL. They are the best performing team.
Fantastic. I think we have your responses laid out. But thank you so much. You've been a lovely audience, and it was fantastic having you, Akshat. Thank you again. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you all for an illuminating session.